At just 17, she carried a burden heavier than the world itself, a secret that would haunt her for decades. In a dusty Nigerian village, where whispers traveled faster than the wind, Nneka was alone, unwed, and pregnant. Shunned by her family, cursed by neighbors, she faced a choice no mother should: keep her child and starve or abandon her to survive. This is the story of a heart-wrenching decision, a forest that hid a miracle, and a billionaire heir who returned to change everything. Grab your popcorn, sit back, and prepare for a tale of regret, redemption, and supernatural twist that will leave you speechless. If you're new here, hit subscribe and the like button for more powerful African stories like this one. Nneka's life wasn't always this bleak. Once, she was the village beauty, her laughter brightening the market square. But love betrayed her. A charming trader promised her the stars, only to vanish when her belly swelled. Her father, a proud young farmer, called her a disgrace. "No daughter of mine will shame us," he roared, locking her out. Her mother wept but turned away. Neighbors spat as she passed, whispering harlot under their breath. By her 8th month, Nneka was skeletal, surviving on scraps from kind strangers. Hunger gnawed at her, but the fear of raising a child alone was worse. "What life can I give you?" she whispered to her unborn, tears soaking her tattered wrapper. The village was unforgiving, its traditions harsh. Unwed mothers were outcast, their children doomed to scorn. Nneka clutched her swollen belly under moonlight, her heart torn. She'd heard tales of the Iroko forest, a place of spirits, where lost things found new paths. "Maybe the ancestors will protect you," she sobbed, clutching a small cloth doll she'd sewn for her baby. At midnight, with the village asleep, she crept to the forest edge. Owls hooted, shadows danced. Her bare feet bled on thorns, but she pressed on, deeper, until she reached a clearing where an ancient Iroko tree stood like a guardian. Nneka fell to her knees, rocking her newborn daughter, barely a day old, wrapped in her only shawl. "I'm sorry, my Chioma," she choked, naming her after Hope. "I can't feed you. I can't protect you." She laid the baby on a bed of leaves, tucking the doll beside her. "Ancestors, take her. Give her what I cannot." Tears blinded her as she kissed Chioma's tiny forehead, then turned and ran, her sobs echoing through the trees. By dawn, she was back in her hut, alone, the weight of her choice crushing her soul. The village never knew, but Nneka's heart would never forget the child she left to the forest's mercy. The Iroko forest swallowed Nneka's cries as she fled, leaving her newborn, Chioma, beneath the ancient tree. The baby's tiny wails pierced the night, a fragile sound against the rustling leaves and distant howls. By all accounts, Chioma should have perished, alone, exposed, a helpless infant in a wilderness of spirits and beasts. But the forest had other plans. This is the story of a miraculous survivor, guided by unseen forces, and the years of hardship that forged a child's unbreakable spirit. Stay with us for a tale of hope, mystery, and destiny that will grip your heart. If you're new, smash that subscribe button and like to join our African storytelling family. As dawn broke, Chioma's cries grew faint, her tiny body shivering in the morning dew. The cloth doll beside her was damp, the shawl barely shielding her from the cold. Then, a shadow moved, a figure cloaked in mist, neither fully human nor spirit. The villagers called her Adis, the forest mother, a legend whispered to protect lost souls. Her eyes, glowing like embers, fell on Chioma. "Child of sorrow, you are not forsaken," she murmured, her voice like wind through branches. With a wave of her hand, roots twisted gently around Chioma, forming a cradle of vines. A warm breeze dried her tears, and berries dropped nearby, their juice sustaining her. Addis didn't raise Chioma alone. By noon, a childless hunter, Obinna, stumbled upon the clearing. His heart, heavy from years of loneliness, stopped at the sight of the baby, cradled by roots as if the forest itself guarded her. A gift from the ancestors, he whispered, lifting Chioma gently. He took her to his hut, a crumbling shack on the forest edge, far from the village's corn. His wife, Ifeoma, wept with joy, naming her Chioma, hope, without knowing it was her birth name. They had no wealth, only love, and vowed to raise her as their own. Chioma's early years were steeped in hardship. The couple's hut leaked during rains, meals were often just roasted yams or wild greens. Chioma wore rags patched from old sacks, her feet bare and calloused. Yet, her mind sparkled. By age 5, she memorized Obinna's hunting songs and Ifeoma's herb recipes, her eyes bright with curiosity. The village children mocked her, forest rat, they called her, when she ventured near for trade. She learned to hide, to move like a shadow, her doll her only keepsake, tucked in her pocket. At night, Addis' voice whispered in her dreams, teaching her the forest secrets, which roots healed, which streams were safe. Chioma didn't know it, but her survival was no accident, it was the beginning of a destiny that would one day shake her village to its core. 20 years had passed since Nneka fled the Iroko forest, her baby's cries echoing in her soul. Now a woman of 37, Nneka lived in a bustling Nigerian town, far from her village's judgmental eyes. She'd built a new life, a small tailoring shop, a modest home, a husband, and 2 young sons, but the weight of abandoning Chioma clung to her like a shadow. Haunted by guilt, facing silent consequences, she wore a mask of normalcy to hide her broken heart. Stay tuned for a story of regret, secrets, and a looming reunion that will shake her world. If you're new here, hit subscribe and like for more gripping African tales. Nneka's shop was a haven of chatter, her needle dancing through colorful fabrics as customers praised her skill. "Mama Nneka, your hands are magic," they'd say. She'd smile, but her eyes stayed hollow. Every night, she locked up, walked home, and cooked for her family, her laughter forced. Her husband, Chike, a kind but busy trader, never noticed the way she stared at the stars, whispering, "Chioma, are you alive?" Her sons, Kolechi and Obi, filled her days with joy, yet each giggle reminded her of the daughter she'd left behind. Guilt was her constant companion, gnawing at her in the quiet hours. The consequences of her act crept in subtly. Nightmares plagued her, Chioma's tiny hand reaching from the forest, accusing eyes in the dark. She'd wake screaming, Chike soothing her without knowing why. In town, whispers followed her. A nosy neighbor once overheard her muttering Chioma's name in sleep and spread rumors, "Nneka has a secret past." Customers dwindled, sensing her unease. Nneka poured herself into work, sewing until her fingers bled, building a facade of a perfect wife and mother. She joined church, sang hymns loudly, donated to orphans, anything to drown the shame. Yet, no prayer erased the memory of that moonlit night. She never returned to the village, fearing its ghost. Her parents had died, ashamed of her, and her old friends shunned her as a fallen girl. Nneka told Chike she was an orphan, a lie to bury her past. But the forest haunted her. She'd hear its whispers in the wind, see Chioma's face in every young girl passing by. What if she lived, she'd wonder, then shove the thought away. The ancestors, she believed, had judged her. Her crops failed often, her health faltered, small fevers, aches that doctors couldn't explain. "It's her curse," she'd whisper, clutching the old shawl she'd wrapped Chioma in, hidden in a locked box. By day, Nneka was the cheerful tailor, teaching her sons manners, hosting neighbors. But alone, she'd unravel, sobbing over the doll she never gave Chioma, kept as a painful relic. The facade held, but cracks were forming. Little did she know, the child she abandoned was no longer a helpless infant. She was coming, and her return would unravel everything Nneka had built. Chioma, the baby left in the Iroko forest, was no longer the fragile infant cradled by vines. Now 20 years old, she stood tall, her eyes sharp with purpose, her hands skilled with the forest secrets. Guided by the mysterious Adis and raised by the humble hunter Obinna and his wife Ifeoma, Chioma's journey from rags to riches was nothing short of a miracle. With supernatural whispers and her own relentless drive, she built a fortune and uncovered the truth of her heritage. Stay with us for a tale of destiny, triumph, and a past that refuses to stay buried. Subscribe and hit that like button for more epic African stories. Chioma's childhood in Obinna's hut was one of love but scarcity. By 10, she was brewing healing teas, taught by Adi's dream visions, recipes for fevers, wounds, even broken hearts. Her talent drew villagers to their doorstep, trading yams for her potions. "This girl is touched by spirits," they'd whisper, unaware of the forest mother's guidance. At 15, tragedy struck, Ifeoma fell ill, and no herb could save her. Obinna, heartbroken, urged Chioma to leave. "The world needs your gift," he said, handing her the cloth doll from her infancy, her only clue to her past. Chioma ventured to Lagos, a chaotic city where dreams clashed with reality. With just a sack of herbs and her tattered doll, she sold remedies at bustling markets. Her potions worked wonders, curing ailments doctors couldn't. Word spread, the forest girl heals. A wealthy trader, Momongozi, tasted Chioma's tea and hired her to supply her chain of pharmacies. Chioma's knack for blending ancient recipes with modern needs turned her stall into a brand. By 18, she owned a small shop, then a factory, her herbal empire grossing millions. She called it the Iroko's gift, honoring the forest that saved her. But wealth wasn't enough. Adi's whispers grew stronger, urging Chioma to seek her roots. One night, holding the doll, she noticed a faded name stitched inside, Nneka. A vision flashed, a young woman sobbing under an Iroko tree. Chioma's heart raced. "My mother," she whispered. She hired investigators, tracing the doll to a village near the forest. Records were scarce, but elders record a shunned girl, Nneka, who vanished after a scandal. "She left the child to the spirits," one said, pointing to the forest. Chioma's blood ran cold. The truth hit, she was that child, abandoned but chosen by fate. Now a billionaire, Chioma dressed simply but carried an air of quiet power. She bought land, built clinics, and funded schools, her heart set on giving others the chances she fought for. Yet, her past called. "Return," Adi's voice echoed. Chioma packed her bag, the doll tucked inside, and headed for the village. She wasn't just a healer now, she was an heir with a purpose, ready to face the mother who left her and a destiny that would rewrite their story. Chioma, now 20, stepped out of a sleek black SUV into the dusty village she'd left behind. No longer the ragged girl from the forest, she was a billionaire healer, her empire Iroko's gift known across Nigeria. Her simple wrapper hid her wealth, but her eyes burned with purpose. The village buzzed with whispers of her arrival, a mysterious woman with wealth and power. Nneka, her mother, now 37, lived a fragile lie, her tailoring shop a mask for her guilt. The reunion was near, and it would shake their world to its core. Grab your popcorn and stay with us for a tale of truth, tears, and destiny. Subscribe and like for more African stories that hit the heart. The village hadn't changed much: mud huts, yam fields, and gossip that stung like bees. Chioma walked the market, her old doll tucked in her bag, her heart pounding. She stopped at Nneka's shop, a small store draped in bright fabrics. Nneka, stitching a dress, looked up, her face weathered but familiar from Chioma's visions. "Good day, madam," Chioma said softly, her voice steady but her hands trembling. Nneka smiled, oblivious. "Welcome, my dear. Need a dress?" Her warmth cut Chioma deep. She didn't recognize her own daughter. Chioma lingered, buying a scarf to prolong the moment. She studied Nneka's hands, the same ones that left her in the forest. "You have children?" Chioma asked, testing. Nneka's smile faltered. "2 boys," she said, eyes darting away. "No daughters?" Chioma pressed. Nneka froze, her needle pausing mid-stitch. "No," she whispered, her voice cracking. Chioma's heart ached, guilt was written in her mother's eyes. She left the shop, her resolve hardening. She'd return, but not yet. That evening, Chioma visited the village elder, Papa Is, who'd hinted at Nneka's past. "The girl who left a child in the Iroko forest," he confirmed, squinting at Chioma. "You look like her." Chioma nodded, her throat tight. "I'm her daughter." Papa Is gasped, his staff falling. "The ancestors spared you." Word spread like wildfire. Villagers gathered, staring at the stranger who claimed to be Nneka's lost child. Some whispered witch, others miracle. Chioma ignored them, her focus on the reunion. The next day, Chioma returned to Nneka's shop, this time with purpose. The market hushed as she entered. Nneka looked up, confused by the crowd. "Madam," Chioma began, her voice steady, "do you remember a baby named Chioma, left under an Iroko tree?" Nneka's needle dropped, her face paling. Who are you?" she stammered, stepping back. Chioma pulled the doll from her bag, its faded Nneka stitching glinting in the sun. Nneka's knees buckled, a sob escaping. "My Chioma," she whispered, reaching out. The crowd gasped, tears fell, and the truth hung heavy, mother and daughter, face to face, with 20 years of pain between them. The air in the village market thickened as Nneka stared at Chioma, clutching the faded doll, her daughter's name a ghost from her past. Chioma, now a billionaire healer, stood tall, her eyes blazing with the pain of abandonment and the power of the Iroko forest spirits. The crowd held its breath, sensing something unearthly brewing. Ancestral forces stirred, ready to unleash a reckoning, testing the bounds of revenge and forgiveness. Stay glued for a tale of supernatural justice and a mother's trembling heart. Subscribe and hit that like button for more electrifying African stories. Nneka's sob broke the silence, her hands shaking as she reached for Chioma. "My daughter, you're alive." Chioma stepped back, her voice cold. "You left me to die, mother." The words cut like a blade, and the sky darkened, clouds swirling unnaturally. Villagers gasped as a chill wind swept through, carrying whispers only Chioma heard. Adis, the forest mother, her spectral guide. "Show her truth," the spirit hissed, her voice echoing in Chioma's mind. That night, Nneka's dreams burned with visions, a baby crying under the Iroko tree, roots cradling her, and glowing eyes judging Nneka's betrayal. By dawn, Nneka woke screaming, her home trembling as if shaken by unseen hands. Plates crashed, mirrors cracked, reflecting her terrified face. "Chioma, forgive me," she cried, but the village buzzed with fear. Goats fled their pens, crops withered overnight, signs the ancestors were angry. Chioma, staying at Papa Isa's hut, felt Adi's presence stronger now. Punish or heal, the spirit asked, offering a choice. Chioma's heart battled, rage for her lost childhood versus the love she still craved. She clutched the doll, its stitches fraying like her resolve. In the market, Chioma confronted Nneka again. "The ancestors see your guilt," she said, her voice carrying an otherworldly echo. She scattered herbs from her bag, and smoke rose, forming shapes, Nneka abandoning her, villagers cursing her. Nneka fell to her knees, sobbing. "I was young, scared. I thought you'd die with me." The crowd murmured, some pitying, others condemning. A spectral figure appeared briefly, Adi's, her eyes locking on Nneka. "You broke a sacred bond," she boomed, invisible to all but Chioma and Nneka. The ground quaked, stalls collapsed, and Nneka screamed, "Stop this." Chioma raised a hand, silencing the chaos. "I could let the spirits take you," she said, her voice softening. "But I'm not you. I won't abandon my blood." Tears fell as she tossed the doll to Nneka. "Keep this. Remember what you did." The winds calmed, Adi's presence fading. Villagers whispered, "She spared her." Nneka clutched the doll, weeping, "I don't deserve you." Chioma's heart ached, she'd chosen forgiveness, but the ancestors' warning lingered, justice wasn't done. As she turned away, a faint whisper echoed, "The reckoning waits." The stage was set for a final resolution, one that would heal or break them forever. The village trembled under the weight of Chioma's mercy, her choice to spare Nneka echoing louder than the ancestors' wrath. Now 20, the billionaire healer stood in the market, her mother on her knees, clutching the doll that bound their past. The crowd watched, hearts racing, as Chioma's forgiveness clashed with Nneka's guilt. This was the moment of truth. Could a broken family heal, and would Chioma's rags to riches triumph rewrite their story? Stay with us for a finale of redemption and hope that will move you. Subscribe and hit like for more African tales that touch the soul. Nneka's sobs filled the air, her face buried in the door. "Chioma, I'm so sorry," she whispered. Chioma's eyes softened, but pain lingered. "I forgive you, mother, but trust is earned." The villagers, once quick to judge, now stood silent, some wiping tears. Papa stepped forward, his voice steady. "Child, the ancestors spared you for this, to heal, not curse." Chioma nodded, feeling Adi's faint presence, urging peace. She knelt beside Nneka, lifting her chin. "Stand. We start anew, but you must face your truth." Nneka confessed to the crowd her fear, her shame, her abandonment of Chioma. "I was a child myself, lost," she said, voice breaking. Chike, her husband, pushed through, stunned. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked. Nneka wept, "I feared losing you too." Chike embraced her, then turned to Chioma. "You're my daughter now," he said, his voice firm. Chioma's heart swelled. Family, once a dream, was real. Her half-brothers, Kolechi and Obi, ran to her, hugging her legs. "Big sister," they cheered, unaware of the past. Chioma's wealth became the village's salvation. She built a clinic with Iroko's gift, offering free care, her herbs healing countless ailments. She funded a school, naming it after Ifeoma, her foster mother, ensuring no child faced her struggles. Nneka worked beside her, sewing uniforms for students, her hands finding purpose. The village transformed, fields flourished, children laughed, and the stigma of Nneka's past faded. Chioma's triumph wasn't just riches, it was breaking cycles of pain. One evening, under the Iroko tree where she was abandoned, Chioma and Nneka sat together. "I hated you once," Chioma admitted. "But hate would have destroyed me." Nneka cried, "You're my miracle." The ancestors' whispers quieted, their justice fulfilled by love, not vengeance. Chioma's empire grew, but her heart stayed rooted in the village, her family home. She placed the doll on a school shelf, a reminder of survival. "No child is lost forever," she told students. "Your past doesn't define you, your choices do." Her story spread, inspiring millions, proving forgiveness heals and kindness rebuilds. No one is beyond redemption. Chioma's journey from forest to fortune shows that love can mend even the deepest wounds. Forgive, uplift, and believe in second chances. Share your thoughts in the comments. What did this story teach you? Another powerful tale drops soon, so subscribe, turn on notifications, and share with loved ones. Thank you for watching. God bless.